This is the Seven Figure Standard Podcast, hosted by Arash Vasugi and Mikey Stiller, with mindset and strategies to help you break through and create personal freedom.
Hello, and welcome to the Seven Figure Standard Podcast. I'm Mikey Stiller, joined by my co-host, Arash Vasugi, and we are so happy to be here with you this week for another episode. Arash, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you, Mikey?
I am doing great as well. And you had a great idea for our topic today, which is the 5 reasons why people stay stuck. I think this is something that everyone can relate to, and I'm really excited for you to dig into the 5 reasons. You want to get going?
Yeah. So can anyone relate to this? Like you're working really focused, you're working really intentional, but for whatever reason, you're hitting a brick wall. I talk to people in all different industries, and I always tell them this, because we can never control what happens outside of us. At different times, like right now in our world, there's different industries going through different challenges. But we can only control what we do. And I want to give you, over the past 18 years of doing this work every day, like literally 20 years of studying this, I've been stuck at different points. And I will tell you the absolute core reasons why people stay stuck. And if you're stuck right now, this is going to break you through. So I'm really super excited to share this with you because I think you're going to get quite a bit out of it.
I love it, Arash. Okay, what's reason number 1?
They have an identity that is too small for their dreams. So they have big dreams, but they haven't understood that they have to raise their identity to their dreams. So let me give you an example of this. What we have to have is great understanding here. The understanding is what got us to here is not going to get us to there. So we always have to grow. The bigger the goal, the bigger the identity. And here's a bigger one of understanding. What got us here is not going to keep us here. A lot of people are doing the same thing and expecting, I'm going to do the same thing, get bigger results. But our world is changing so dramatically. Like if you're marketing and you have a business, you know the marketplace is constantly changing how they receive messages. People hardly answer their phones anymore. So if you're used to doing a phone call, you have to change your communication. So if we look at any dream, our identity has to match that dream. So a lot of people are working with their old identity, expecting different results. So let me go deeper into this one. If you look at identity work at its core, it comes down to 3 words: be, do, have. We have to become more if we're going to have more. Yet most people, and I know it's not our listeners, but most people are wanting to have more without becoming more. So they do less. So it creates an identity that is very small. It's very incongruent. So your dream has a frequency. It has a program that you have to be on. And if my identity does not match my dreams, I'm never going to achieve that. So that's number 1. They have an identity that is too small for their dreams. Now, when you're listening to this, I want you to think, is one of these me? Even if you're crushing it, you're going to get a lot out of this. Mm-hmm. Like even if you're crushing it. Okay. Number 2, and I know a lot of people can resonate with this one, they're addicted to comfort. They are addicted to comfort and certainty. What I mean by certainty is they know what's creating their current results, so they're good with it. I'd rather succeed at my present self than for 90 days fail at my future self and go down a little bit, but transform my identity so I explode my results. So anytime I've been stuck, it's because I have not been intentional. And the greatest stuck buster is to have a goal and recommit to it every day is day one. But what keeps people stuck is they have that attitude in meetings. Oh, I got another meeting. I have to do this. No, you get to do it. You never know what can happen in a meeting. You never know what can happen in a call. So there's all this judgment of this expectation based on past. So they're letting the past control them. Why are people in comfort? Because they have no juice, they have no fire. They may have a goal, but they don't believe it. They've never created a belief to that goal that they're going to do it. Mm-hmm. So they like saying, I listen to podcasts, I do X, but they never get out of their comfort zone. And if you are this person, I promise you, you're stuck and you're going to stay stuck. So that's number 2. Number 3, they keep telling themselves an old story. Well, they could do it, but I can't. I've got a great life. Like, why do I need to stretch? So they constantly are operating from an old story. So if we just look at everybody listening to this or watching this, yesterday, were you coming from the story of your future self, or were you coming from your present or past self? Now, we did a podcast on stories, and if this is the first time you're listening to this, go watch that and listen to it. Because our stories are a self-fulfilling prophecy. So they keep telling them an old story that creates the same results that are in harmony with that old story. So we got to ask ourselves, why are we going from an old story? Because we do not have a future that we really want. We'd rather stay into number 2 of comfort of what I know I'm going to get, And you'll know this by just looking at your habits. Have your habits changed this year? I mean, we're going into month 4. So just look at your habits. Has your habits changed? And if you've been following this podcast this year, at the beginning of the year, we started with one that, are you willing to focus on the one strategy for 12 months that would absolutely catapult your year? And if you remember, I said everyone's going to say they will, but I said be careful what you say because it's not an easy thing. That will tell you if you stuck to it or if you went back to the old story. And this is a big one, number 4. They don't have high standards. They have high goals, but low standards. It's very common. It is very common why people stay stuck. I think for the majority of people, they set very good goals. The majority of people who work with us. But if you have low standards, you're never going to achieve high goals. So I want you to observe your goal and first ask yourself, do I have a goal that really gives me fire, inspiration, and juice? If the answer is yes, okay, you got part of the equation. Now, the second part is, now are my standards aligned with those goals? Most people have low standards. They're settling. They have a habit of settling. You know, we have a elite coaching group called Pinnacle Club. And I said, you'd be amazed of how many people will settle for less, even high achievers. They will rationalize themselves to talk themselves out and settle for a lower lifestyle because they're afraid to grow. So you want to ask yourself, do I have low standards and high goals? That is a key reason why people stay stuck. And the last one, Mike, is they're trying to do it alone. I always brag that I had the best mentor in the world. He used to always tell me, you have to do it by yourself, but you can never do it alone. And I just love that quote. I just love when he told me that. I was like, God, that was me. I remember I was on a plane, and this is when I was struggling. And I was reading a book called The Master Key to Riches by Napoleon Hill. And in the book, Napoleon Hill said, successful people never do it alone. And unsuccessful people are afraid to ask successful people for advice. And I go, oh my God, even though I didn't raise my hand, I was like reading this book on the plane, raising my hand. I was like, that's me. But that really shifted my perception around it. We can never do it alone. We have to have a good circle around us. So that's why people stay stuck. You know what keeps people stuck in doing it alone? They have so much pride. But pride is coming from the ego, and pride and doubt kills more dreams than anything that I've ever observed. So don't do it alone. Surround yourself with people who've already done what you want to do and model what they've done. Get mentorship. Get in masterminds. Go to seminars. And really set yourself up to win. Those are the 5 reasons over the last 18 years of really coaching this that I have discovered why people stay stuck.
Raj, I'm thinking as you're naming all the 5 reasons, everyone listening to this is going to really relate to at least one of those. They're going to think that's me, and maybe more than one, which is fine too. And I think awareness is a big part of the equation. As soon as you're aware of something, you can do something about it. But what do they do next? If they say, you know what, reason number 3, that's me. What do they do?
Well, I'll tell you, if reason number 1, they have an identity that's too small for their dreams, they have all 5 of them. I will tell you that. So if it's reason number 2, they keep telling them an old story, then you have to bulletproof your story. So I'll give you an idea how to do this. What I would recommend you do is every morning, write out your perfect day. Write out your perfect day that you've already accomplished it. What would your perfect day look like? Every time we write, it deepens our commitment on a subconscious level. And then you've got to get so good at being aware when the old story starts controlling you and saying, nope, that's my old story. That's not who I am anymore. You literally rewire yourself little by little every day. Programming is ingrained in us. And programming it's hard in the beginning when you don't understand how your mind works. But then it becomes simple to change the program. But a lot of people never change the program because they're impatient. They want to change it overnight. And the program takes time to change. It didn't get created overnight. It doesn't change overnight. So that is how you would attack it. Let's say they're addicted to certainty and comfort. So do a 30-day test for yourself, and every day do one thing out of your comfort zone. This is how you bust through it. These are the stuck busters. But I think one of the greatest habits we can ever form is deliberately creating the habit of follow through every day. And if you don't do it, start over at day 1. Let's say you do it for 4 days in a row and then you don't do it for the 5th. Start over at day 1 until you can follow through for 30 days. These are how you break them. So I want everyone to put their goal in their mind. And then I want you to ask yourself this question. Is the outcome already done in my mind, or am I going to the goal? Am I going to the goal? We always have to come from the goal. If the goal is not done in our mind, we're separate from the goal, and we're always going to create from our old self. So you want to get this in your awareness so you can make massive quantum leaps, massive transformations, massive breakthroughs. One idea creates a breakthrough. I hope this is the idea for you who are listening to this. But you got to look at yourself. I have a great client, Charles Ransom, and I was talking to him, and I said, he was telling me he's a wealth manager, and he was telling me about the market. I said, but you have such an advantage right now because you've transformed your attitude. I said, there's a lot of wealth managers who are letting the results control them. And I said, you're getting better because of your attitude right now. See, that's somebody who is not going to get stuck. Because that's somebody who understands. 2 years ago, no. But now where he is, attitude drives everything. But what we want to do is understand our beliefs drives every action we take. Our beliefs are not our thoughts. Our beliefs are our feelings towards our thoughts. So when we keep raising and ascending our belief higher and higher, you are not going to spend a lot of time being stuck. You may get stuck at certain points. That just means you didn't recalibrate your goal, or you didn't commit to your goal. You took the foot off the gas.
Arash, I know you've seen this, and I think one detrimental thing that we all do, or that people do in general, a lot of the time is when they get stuck, they're focused on the fact that they're stuck and the circumstances that are keeping them stuck. So now you've given them a solution to every single reason why they could be stuck. But how do they change that framework if they notice that they're focused just on their circumstances or on the fact that they're stuck? How can they adjust?
Well, number one, they have to understand the law of polarity. The law of polarity says there's an exact opposite to everything. However, going to your question, if I'm focused on being stuck, I'm going to use the law of polarity against me, because all I'm going to do is keep attracting what I put my focus on. Now, the person who's stuck could have a different attitude, say, as stuck as I am right now, that means there's really good stuff coming on the other end of it. Now they're shifting the law of polarity in their favor. So everything has to be driven by our want. Our want is the most important thing that we define. And then we have to turn that want into a belief, into a desire, into the knowingness. Like, I don't care how long it takes, this is what I'm doing. So when we do that, we actually leverage the law of polarity. But most people are using the law of polarity where they put all their conscious attention on the outside result, so they keep attracting it over and over again, over and over again, over and over again. And you don't want to do that. You want to shift it. You have to shift everything in your favor. That's why thinking is the highest activity we do every day. Reacting is not thinking. We have to think from the end. We have to think based on the vision we want to create for ourselves. Success is pretty simple. Simplicity always scales. Complexity always fails. So you don't try to be successful. You emanate success by thinking, feeling, and acting, and then success becomes automatic.
So good. All right, Arash, let's get into an action step for today.
Well, I would look at the 5 key pillars that I went over of why people stay stuck. And if you're in one of these, then I encourage you to create a game plan and attack it. So let's say you have an identity that's too small. Work on your identity. Start behaving your way into a new identity. Take different actions. See, a lot of people with identity are trying to change the identity with a new strategy. But if you have an outdated identity, no matter the strategy, you're going to be frustrated. You have to raise the identity, and action is your best friend. And then if you're really successful right now, like you're really having the best year of your life, which that's awesome, right? That see how you could double down and bulletproof yourself to raise the game.
All right, perfect. Arash, thank you so much. Thanks to all of you. If you enjoyed today's episode, go ahead and leave us a rating and review, but most importantly, share this with your friends and family member or on social media so that more people in your circle can listen to the 7-Figure Standard podcast and learn the same mindset things that you are. And we'll see you next week for another episode.
Thank you for listening to this episode of 7-Figure Standard. We hope you found the insights and strategies helpful on your journey to success. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave us a rating and review on your favorite podcast platform to help us reach more people like you. To learn more about Arash and Mikey and how Voss Coach & Co. can help you achieve your goals and reach new levels of success, visit vosscoachandco.com. Thank you again for listening, and we'll see you on the next episode of 7-Figure Standard.